Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Wizard After Dark. It's September the 6th now, 12/20. When I was younger, I guess a lot younger, I was never a big sports person, but Dad and I followed CFL, Canadian football, and our favorite team was the Edmonton Eskimos. And I remember the Grey Cup, which is usually in November. That used to be our thing, and we would get a box then of nuts and bolts, and we would sit there. Shauna, my sister, would often join us as well, and we would watch the Grey Cup. And sometimes our team, the Eskimos, they like kicked butt all the way through the season. I mean, they were number one all the way through. And then when they played in the Grey Cup, the opposing team just barely made it in. And maybe, the last times that they sort of played against each other during the season, Edmonton just wiped them out for the most part. But even though I should have labeled this, sometimes the underdog does win. That would have been good. Even though all through the season, even if the Eskimos were a better team, were a more solid team, all that kind of stuff, they had to really be careful, because I should have named it this, because sometimes the underdog does win. And if this team could get the momentum going in their direction, they could pull it off. I remember one, I don't think I lasted through the whole game, because our team just kind of fell apart. And this other team, which they should have easily beaten, took them out. And I'm pretty sure I didn't make it to the end of the game. I was so, frustrated or something with them. Which, using a bit of a sports metaphor, really fits into this: playing like you have nothing left to lose when everything is at stake. And that was the thing, is that team, that underdog that came in, and sometimes even it would be maybe in the playoffs or something like that, where this team that was just lost all year, and here comes the Eskimos, and the commentators will often say this, how this second team, they were playing like they had nothing left to lose, which is often when they were the most dangerous, because they had nothing left to lose. And I mean, I'm sure we've seen that played out in many different ways. Esther Hicks often talks about, there's a story she tells when Jerry was still in his body, how, and he was of the many things that he did, he was a financial consultant, let's say. And he asked Esther once, he said, why is it that it seems like people that sort of have everything, I'll use that word, and then they lose it and they lose it and they lose it and they lose it, and they can't seem to stop it until they have nothing, and then they're able to build it again. So why couldn't they stop that before they got all the way down till they had essentially nothing left to lose? And the reply that he got was, that Esther said was, it's because they still had something left to lose. And it's like, when you have nothing left, you have nothing left to lose. And there's almost ironically a freedom in that, because for that very reason, that again, it's like you have nothing left to lose. So you're not you're not holding on to something because there's nothing to hold on to. And so again, there's almost this freedom in that. And you see, I look at things like that and I go, because, and that's the whole thing with energy mechanics is, so what is the mechanics behind that? When you see these patterns, And again, it shows up all over the place. Again, the underdog sometimes wins. When you see these patterns, I look at that and I go, okay, so because nothing is accidental or happenstance or random, what's the process that's going on here? And can we use the understanding of these processes? I'm moving my coffee. Can we use the understanding of these processes to our advantage? Elmer, hold on. I actually found it, so I didn't want to lose it. So this guy's channel on YouTube is Elmer, so ELMER, O is the letter O, Locker Jr. So Elmer O. Locker Jr. Now this is a really interesting guy. Well, let me think. Where is his? He has got... hopefully this won't override everything. I just want to see. Okay. Yeah, he has got 128,000 subscribers. And he grew that amazingly fast. And he is I'm going to say, I think the grandson of somebody who was mentored by Neville Goddard. You've heard me refer to Neville Goddard often. Neville Goddard is sort of the granddaddy of the positive manifesting movement and things like that, at least sort of in modern times, if you will. And one of the techniques that Elmer shared, which is a really interesting one, is he said sort of write down an affirmation, if you will, whether you're writing it down, whether it's in your mind, that you don't want it. And let's say it's the example of physical health. So he said, write down this affirmation, and there's a really good effectiveness in actually physically writing something down. In a nutshell, what it is if you're saying it over in your mind, right, that's great, but that's all non-physical. When you give it expression or form in the physical, it really adds that impact. So whether you're saying it out loud, so the difference between saying an affirmation in your mind, nothing wrong with that, as opposed to giving it form or saying it out loud, really increases the impact and the effectiveness of it. Same thing as physically writing it down. So he said, so what I want you to do is write down, I don't want to be healthy. That's not worded very well. But basically what he's saying is, I don't want health. Like, I don't want health. And he says, write that down. And the reason is twofold. The first one is because your subconscious only creates, right? So it only adds, it only builds. So it doesn't hear don't, do or don't, for that matter. It doesn't hear that. It just sort of absorbs how does that work? Subject, he's like, my grammar is terrible. You guys know that. It just looks what comes after that. See, that's why if your focus is, I don't want to be sick, your subconscious doesn't hear the don't, it just hears sick, because it's always adding, right? So he says, by doing that, first of all, your subconscious doesn't hear it. But he says the other thing that it does, which is kind of neat, is it kind of gets you detached from it. So it's almost like you're saying, I don't want it. No, I don't want to be healthy. I don't want to be healthy. I don't want to be healthy. So it's a bit of a brain hack almost that helps get you out of, now I'm going to flip over to Wayne Dyer. So when I first heard it, it helps you detach from the results. And this is, again, the irony behind this, kind of like this whole playing like you have nothing left to lose when everything is at stake, which makes no sense to the normals, is wanting it, desiring it, but not needing it. Wanting it, desiring it, but being okay if it doesn't happen. And I get it, that this is very much a paradox. But when you understand what's happening, it does put some logic to it. You see, because when we need something to happen out here, we're introducing tension into the system, aren't we? There's a variety of reasons why. That's the first one. When you need something to happen, you're introducing tension into your body, and tension into your body constricts the creation of more. At least what you want. What it tends to do, because it's constricting what you want, is end up in manifesting what you don't want. Right? So it's not like you're creating what you don't want. What you're doing is you're squeezing off that tap, shutting off that tap that's creating what you do want. So what you're experiencing is the absence of what you want, right? So if I drink this coffee down, which I will, now it's empty. I didn't create emptiness, right? Because I got no coffee left, right? There's the absence of coffee. I didn't create the emptiness. I just drank the damn coffee, right? And I may sound like, well, what the hell does that have to do with anything? But it has everything to do with manifesting. So by desiring it, again, another teaching that I'll just leave for now, but not needing it, desiring it and wanting it and resisting that urge to keep checking if it's here yet, right? I want this, is it here? No, I want this, is it here? I want this, something in the physical world to be different. Is it here yet? No, is it here yet? No, is it here yet? Which does a really effective job of diluting your focus, because you're creating what you desire on the inside and you're looking at what you don't desire on the outside. And we have attached more significance and permanency to what we see on the outside. So what you're doing is creating here, then you look at it, oh, it's not here. So you create here, oh, it's not here. You create here, oh, it's not here. So you end up going in this vicious cycle rather than, and this is another thing that Neville talks about, completely ignoring the facts, the physical, and staying focused on what you desire, which fits into the playing like you have nothing left to lose when everything is at stake. And there's such a power in that. It's like, well, I got nothing left to lose. Again, in a bizarre way, I'm not saying that's the preferred method, of course, but in a bizarre way, what you'll notice is your body will start to relax a little bit. So it's like giving up. How many times has this happened? And this is a pattern I know you've seen. And if you just think about it, we see it so often. Is you get somebody that's trying to manifest something. And then they just, I give up. It's not working. I give up. And here's the key word, they stop trying to make it happen and just give up, right? And then it happens. I've seen this. A person's looking for a job, right? And they've got resumes out and they maybe even set up interviews, but it just doesn't click. Or maybe they don't even get interviews. It's just like, God, I don't know. I'm trying so hard. I'm doing all this work and I just can't get it. And then they finally get a job. And it's like the day after they take the job, they get like 3 phone calls for an interview. Another one, a couple that is trying to get pregnant. So they try. It just doesn't work. So they decide, well, we're going to stop and they're going to adopt a child. So they adopt a child and guess what happens? Lady gets pregnant, right? And those are just a couple of examples. But we see this over and over and over again. It's like as soon as you go, well, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to go this way. Then all of a sudden it starts to show up. Now, again, because this isn't magic, this isn't happenstance, this isn't random, there's got to be some mechanics behind that. And this is the whole thing, you see, and this is why when everything is at stake, you're going to have to almost fight your intuition, fight your logic, and play, if you will, like you've got nothing left to lose, even though everything is at stake. It's those, wow, those 4-letter words, faith, those 4-letter words, letting go. One for me that I would often use, surrendering to the process, right? If you will, giving up. Now I change that a little bit to, I'm not so much giving up, I'm giving it up. Right? What are you giving up? And this is like so sort of everybody in the manifesting movement knows this, but again, it's really easy to say this stuff. It's a whole other story to actually put it into action and consistently act out on it. Right? Is letting go of trying. Surrendering to that process, letting go of the expectation of the outcome, resisting the urge to believe here, check there, believe here, check there. And believe me, trust me, I'm as guilty as anybody, even now. I remember years ago, I was getting a loan for a vehicle. And in this case here, I can't remember what kind of led up to it, but I think I just got mad. I can't remember what the details were. And I just got mad. I was like, screw it. I don't care. Right. And I remember going into a car dealer and it was like, I don't care. You know what? I don't care whether I get one or whether I don't. I'm just going in to do this. And I remember walking in, it was just click, 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 and there it was. Right? And again, a person can look at that and go, well, no, you have to stay positive all the time. You have to believe you're going to get this when you go into the car dealership. You have to believe that it's going to happen. The trick is, and sort of that tricky balance is, believing is perfect, but you don't want to slip into the try. And this is, again, you've heard this 1,000 times, but there's a reason. Slip into trying to make it happen. I was going to do a show on this. I never got around to it, but it fits in with here. That I received this phrase sitting underneath that willow tree in 2004, the summer of 2004. And the phrase, and I used it in the meditation gatherings often. Perfect. Going to be pop, 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 pop. Perfect peace, perfect stillness, perfect power. We are most powerful when we are peaceful. We are most powerful when we are still. We are most powerful when we are quiet. Not that there isn't a place for those super high emotions and let's go do this and we're going to do all that. But I got to tell you, it's been my experience, and I'm going to bring somebody else in here, Michael Singer. The Surrender Experiment is such a wonderful, I'm going to have to read that book again because it was such a wonderful book. The Surrender Experiment. And all he wanted was peace. To get out of the voices in his head and to just have peace. That was his goal. That's all he wanted. And that was his focus. And when you read the Surrender Experiment was basically a biography and autobiography, I guess it would be in many ways. All these amazing things that actually found him, they actually chased him down in so many ways. And he wasn't looking for them. He was looking for peace, and he found it through his meditative practice, through his yoga practice. Hey, Rosa, how you doing? I guess it's right. I guess it's only 11:40 where you're at now. 12:40 here in Mountain Standard Time. But all Michael wanted was peace, and that's what he found in his meditation and his yoga. And then all these amazing experiences found him. He didn't have to go looking for them. And that fits in with that playing like you have nothing left to lose and everything is at stake is, I'm just, I got nothing left to lose. So I'm going to do this. But you see, you're not really attaching any results to it. I got nothing left to lose. So I guess I'll do this. The summer of 2009, I had, a couple of months, I guess, previous, stepped into teaching and traveling, although none of that traveling had happened for the first time. And nothing was happening. No workshops, no interest, nothing. And I had sent out did I send out an email? No, I didn't. I'd been thinking about offering a master's class in Red Deer. I had nothing. Nothing. I'd been thinking about offering a master's class in Red Deer. And I remember going to the office, nothing going on, nothing. And this thought went through my head, and I'd received no interest, nothing related to this class. And I thought, I'll send the email out. What the heck? I've got nothing left to lose, so I'll send the email out. And I bet it wasn't an hour later, I got an email from a lady, and she said, I was out, I think she was out running, and I got to thinking in my head, I wonder when the next mass, she was one of a level 1 and 2 student. She said, I wonder when the next class is. And when I got back and checked my computer, there was your email reminding me about classes. Is there room? So, true story. So I sort of emailed her back and said, well, I think so. Let me check. Sent the email and went, sent the email back and it was like, yes, there's a room. Now, back then, I have to think now, because that was in the beginning. Back then, I don't even know, how did that work? I don't even know if I had a prepay. I think you could pay when you came to the class, because the class was still a ways away. And I could really have used the cash right away. And I think that was it. So back then they could pay in Red Deer anyway when they came to the class. So the class was still a ways away and I needed the cash. And she said, oh, by the way, would it be okay if I paid you now? So I kind of go, yeah, that would work. And there it is. Now there's a really good example of, I wasn't powerful and believing and high-fiving myself and all that kind of stuff. I was down and out. I had nothing left to lose. And I sent this email out. I wasn't in the right mindset. I wasn't believing. I wasn't looking at a vision board. I just sent the email out for the sole reason that I had nothing left to lose. So might as well send it out. And look what happened. Now, in that case there, I really had nothing left to lose. But what if everything's at stake? And I guess in a way it was then too. But I think that's the thing. When there's everything at stake, and this is where the bigger challenge is, but when everything is at stake, to just fight that intuition, to force and somehow make it happen, to fight that intuition, and to assume that, I don't know, I just do whatever. And in so many cases, that does not align with the common manifesting movements. But what it does do is it very effectively gets you out of the way of making it happen. Because I wasn't trying to make anything happen because I didn't think anything would happen. Isn't that interesting? I didn't think anything would happen. I sent the email and then it did. So how does that work? Because you get what you expect. So I should have not got anything because I didn't expect anything to happen, which is true. But what's even more powerful, because I didn't expect anything to happen, I didn't have any expectations on whether it did happen or not. I'm going to say that again. Because I didn't expect anything to happen, I didn't attach any expectations on the outcome. And that puts you in that state of, now maybe you're giving up, but you're still, your body, right? You're, oh, well, no, I mean, yes, if we can do that before we get there, cool. But we still got there. Well, I don't know. I'll just, don't know, right? But it puts your body in that relaxed state. It gets you're not checking because you don't think anything's going to happen anyway, right? And it puts you in that place where you're not now trying, this is so, you've heard this 1,000 times, but it's so true, where you're not trying to make it happen. In this case here, because you don't think it will anyway, but okay, it gets you out of the way, right? Might not be the best way, but it gets you out of the way. And then you're playing like you have nothing left to lose, even though everything is at stake. This makes no sense to the normals, but the normals have been conditioned that you have to try, that you have to make things happen, that you have to force things. And if you're digging a big hole with a shovel, yeah, you're going to have to work. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about manifesting from the non-physical into the physical, which is, we're still using the same laws of physics. We're just using the right processes, the more efficient processes, the processes that allow us to harness a power so much greater than ours, not just however your muscles are and how much weight you got to dig the damn dirt out of the ground. You're harnessing something a lot bigger than you and allowing that creative flow. As Esther says, what does she say? The power that creates universes to act on your behalf. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This was really good. I needed to hear it just as much as you guys did. You're listening to Ask the Wizard After Dark, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. I stripped the audio and upload it to Anchor.fm and Spotify. On Spotify, search for Ask the Wizard Coach. You will find me. Share. We're all in this together. See you on the web.